Welcome to the Certified Coach Accelerator Workshop. My name is Marcel Sanchez, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about myself. But the purpose of this is to give you a workshop, and this is something that you'll learn. And I'm hoping to provide you with some tools that you can actually begin using tonight and even tomorrow. So, the Certified Coach Accelerator Workshop, what is it about? It says here 3 shifts to get ready for your next leadership role before your gaps get exposed. And one of the things that I find often as I talk with different leaders is they're preparing for what's next. It might be another promotion, it might be their first promotion, it might be starting a business, but they want some guidance on what should they do and how should they prepare for what's next, what's ahead. And one of the things that we hope that you'll discover in this workshop is the following: how to increase your leadership competence, clarity, and confidence. And sometimes I'll say that in a different way, but tonight I'm saying it: your leadership competence, clarity, and confidence. So let's get started. First of all, we're going to talk about 3 shifts and one method to help you overcome the previous shifts that you've had. Here's the first one: the partner shift. What does it mean? Stop being the leader with all the answers. Start being the partner who draws them out. Number 2, engage listening. The difference between hearing someone and actually moving them. We want to move people. And third, coaching presence. How to walk into a bigger room and lead with greater competence, confidence, and clarity. There are the 3 again, without needing every answer and without needing to feel the pressure that you have to answer every question and have the answer for every single thing. Then we're going to talk about what to do with them. Get ready for your next role. That's really why you're here, before it exposes the gaps you didn't know you had. We all have blind spots. Athletes have blind spots, actors, business people, industry professionals, ministry professionals. We all have blind spots. And one of the questions we want to answer tonight is, how can you best prepare to overcome some of these blind spots and leadership challenges? It says, even if you've read the books, sat through the conferences, collected the degrees, but you still feel like you've hit a ceiling in your leadership, one that you can't really explain. That's what it's about tonight. So what's actually stopping you? And here's something that I hear often among leaders. Here they are, 3 things. I need to know more. Have you ever said that? I need to know more. More expertise, I need more answers, more degrees, so I'm not exposed when the bigger role comes. You want to be overly prepared. Most leaders do. Well, what got you here where you are today, right now as a leader, won't get you there where you need to be. I would dare to say the next phase in your leadership is not so much about telling people what to do, it's about empowering leaders and developing people. Notice the second one. I already listen well. I said that myself. I've been told my whole life that I'm a good listener. I've been told that. Possibly you've been told that as well. The people part is not my problem. Have you said that before? Well, there's a difference nobody ever taught you, and we're going to be talking about that tonight. And then third, what if I'm not ready? That's the big one. What if I step up to this next leadership role and everyone finds out I don't belong here, almost like an imposter syndrome type of thing? Well, nobody taught you how to lead without having all the answers. That's why we study, that's why we prepare, that's what leaders do. But there's a shift that we want to talk about tonight. Notice what it says here below. Those 3 beliefs are the ceiling, not your effort and definitely not your intelligence. It's simply 3 beliefs. 3 shifts, that's it. That's what we're going to cover tonight as far as the content is concerned. Then we're going to do an activity. I think you'll enjoy it. And then we'll go through a little bit of what's ahead. First of all, let's talk about the partner shift. The instinct that made you a great leader so far is the exact instinct that is quietly capping your leadership influence right now. And it's a subtle shift, but we recognize it. I can't lead the same way I've always led to get to the next level in my leadership. Number two, engage listening. It says this one challenges something you have believed about yourself for years. And I also believed it as well, but I was wrong. And then number three, coaching presence. This answers a question that you didn't really say out loud tonight, at least not yet. How do I walk into a bigger room and lead with confidence when part of me still feels like I'm not ready? You walk into a bigger room, you're ready to walk into a bigger role, but you still don't feel like you're ready. You're not adequately prepared. Well, stay with me. And then by the end of our time together, I think you're going to feel more confident about each of these areas and a different way of leading that maybe you haven't learned before. Imagine it's a Tuesday morning a few months from now. You ask one question, then you stay quiet. You watch someone talk their way to their own answer. They walk out taller than what they walked in, and you carry nothing out of the room on your back. They carry the responsibility, they carry the load. You simply hold them accountable. That's not necessarily a personality that we're born with. It's a leadership skill. More specifically, it's a leadership coaching skill that you and I can learn. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. So, why spend the next hour or so with me? I'm an ICF professional certified coach with the International Coaching Federation. Imagine Coaching Academy is a training academy that I founded, and it's a level one ICF accredited coaching education provider. That's what we do. We provide coaching education to leaders like yourself. The standard I teach tonight is based on the ICF core competencies, and it's something that's used really around the world. Secondly, I've trained more than 11,896 people at over 1,010 training events. I've done this in English, I've done this in Spanish, nationally and also internationally. Number three, I've published 29 books on different topics such as coaching, character, soft skills, marriage, and spiritual growth. And maybe you've guessed it by now. I've been in business for 26 years. I have over 34 years of ministry experience. And most of all, I've been married for over 34 years. This December, by God's grace, we'll celebrate 35 years married. So everything I'm teaching you tonight and we're talking about, I've lived it out in one setting or another in business, in ministry, and in my family life. But notice what it says here below. I hit the exact ceiling you are feeling right now. Everyone in leadership at one time or another hits a leadership ceiling. And that doesn't make me the expert, it simply makes me a guide. And that's what I am tonight for you. I'm simply a guide. But notice what it says here. It's not you. It's the leadership formula you were handed. And I find that many leaders struggle to get ready for this next role of leadership. It's different than what they were used to before. It's a greater level of responsibility, impact, and that's all fantastic. But they realize they can't lead the same way they were leading before. That's where coaching skills really comes in and getting certified as a coach. That formula got you this far in your career, and that's why you're very successful, but it can't take you further. And the leaders who acknowledge they've hit a leadership ceiling and do something about it, those are the leaders that continue to grow. And let me show you how you can actually get there. Here's what most leaders believe. Maybe you can relate. Become the person with the most answers in the room. That's what I have to do. I have to read another book, get the extra degree, the extra LinkedIn badge, there are many of those, or sign up for another fill in the blank. Because when the bigger role comes, and it will often come, you'd better be ready to have the answer for everything, or here it is, you'll be exposed. Well, I believe that for years. I've read books. More recently, in the last 5 to 10 years, I've listened to more books than I've actually read. Audiobooks as I walk, as I drive, as I'm on a flight, because I'm constantly getting in information. But information alone is not enough. Information alone is simply not transformational. That's why we need a different type of leadership training experience, what I call an experiential leadership training. Leaders who multiply are not experts handing down answers. That's not what we find. They're partners who draw them out. They're not the ones telling, they're the ones drawing out from their people what they need to do next. Let me give you an example. Meet Brian Jones. I call him BJ. He likes to be referred to as BJ. Challenging others to own the process. Well, here's the context. Brian, BJ, he's an education consultant. He's been doing that for over 21 years, and he came into my program as the classic expert. I mean, he's a sharp guy. And his words, notice what he says. I was always the person with the answers, telling people to step one, here's step two, here's step three, but then they don't own the process when I do that. They don't own the results either. And he was frustrated because he wasn't seeing the change. But what changed in BJ? What changed in Brian? He learned to ask instead of tell, and something changed. He started using it with his educational leaders, with teams, and his consulting clients. This is the same man, same experience, one shift in how he led, and it's made a tremendous difference in his life. Coaching transforms ownership while maintaining accountability. That's one of the things that BJ discovered. So here's what changes as we apply these shifts in our leadership. Number one, we stop chasing the next degree. And I'm not going to read every single detail, but in general, what happens, we stop chasing that next degree. And I have to get another degree, and I need to do this, and I need to do that. That's not the answer. Number two, we stop being the one everyone depends on. What happens when everyone depends on you and me? We become the bottleneck. We become the lid in their leadership and in their growth. And then number three, start leading by coaching. That's what begins to change. And we learn a process to help people get them from where they are right now to where they want to be, where they need to be. That's what leadership is. That's what coaching does. Let me give you another example. Dr. Paula. The last one in was the first one out. And I love this story because it's so inspirational. Dr. Paula, she was certainly not short on credentials. She had the degrees, but what she didn't have was the thing that she actually wanted. She had been in education for 35 years and she was ready for something different. She wanted a new chapter, a new way to serve people and transform lives, and the confidence to step into it because she was lacking in confidence. So what changed? At first, Dr. Paula, she walked away from our live mentor coaching sessions and observed coaching sessions. She was actually discouraged. It was a difficult skill at first for her to acquire. But then she said, no, I'm going to put my heart and soul into this. I'm going to do the work. And I encouraged her, Dr. Paula, if you do the work and follow the process, you will become an excellent coach. And guess what? She did, and she came out on the other side. What I love about her story is that during this time, she was practicing coaching with her peers. She was practicing her coaching skills with people in education, people in her church, people in her family, friends of friends. And she was actually coaching about 30 people before the program even ended. And her pastor came up to her one day and said, I've seen a change in you and I like it. And she didn't even notice the change in herself. Why? Because she was starting to learn a new level of leadership. Dr. Paula was actually coaching people differently, and it was really, really exciting. So when I use the example of Dr. Paula, I use that example because there was a shift in her approach to leadership and in her approach to serving people better. That's what was so exciting. Who else has walked this path of change? Well, I have here Tim Adrian, lead pastor for almost 30 years. And this is one of the things that Tim said. Pastor Tim said, to walk into a business owner's office and to be able to say, I think I could walk alongside you, that's a whole new arena. Tim was in the process of preparing for a leadership transition. He is the senior pastor of his church, and they've started the process of this leadership transition for the new pastor to come on board. And Tim said, I have to learn new skills because I have to be prepared for my next leadership role. He called the training the missing link. Let me share with you Savannah. Savannah is a designer and a brand strategist, and she asked the question, can learning coaching skills help me? Well, by the end of the training program, she said, unexpected would be the word to summarize my certified coach training. You can start implementing this, talking about the skill of coaching right away. And the funny part in all this, in one of her practice coaching sessions, they coached her on being more aggressive in looking for clients. She applied the coaching principles and she won a new client as a result of that coaching session. So she knew that it worked. And then last but not least, let me introduce you to Georgina, affectionately known as Gina Jones, Mrs. Gina. She's a software quality manager. She was looking for ways to really have difficult conversations, but so that she can help her employees walk away empowered and clear on what they needed to do. She said, I needed to encourage growth in others. That's what she really wanted to do. Everyone should learn these skills, everyone. And she became an excellent coach. Now, as we move forward in this, these leaders aren't built any different than you or myself. They really are not built any differently. They have different skill sets, they're in different industries, but their success wasn't the result of extra talent per se. It was the decision to step up and do the work. Here below it says they had the right shift, taught in the right order for the leaders they already were. That is exactly what I'm going to teach you tonight. It's the shift. So let's start with the first one, the partner shift. There are three. This is number one. So here's my challenge to you. In your leadership shift, and this is what I want to teach you tonight, stop being the answer, start being the partner. Most of the people that sign up for my Coach Training Academy, they are already established experts in their field. They're seasoned leaders. They're used to people coming to them and giving answers to help. And they're coming to their office and they're sitting there for 30, 45 minutes. They give them an answer. Here are three things you need to do. And people do it. So they're used to that. But my challenge to you tonight is to pivot from that type of leadership in order for you to get ready for your next role. Stop being the answer and start being the partner. So let's talk about that briefly. It's going to sound a little bit backwards at first, and I realize that. But the instinct that made you a great leader, well, now it's the exact instinct, notice, that's capping you right now from going forward and making a bigger impact. It says that instinct is the reflex. It's automatic. If you're a parent, you get it. Your child comes to you, whether they're 5 years old, 15 years old, or 28 years old. And instinctively, we want to give them the answer. But that's not the best way to lead and empower others. Because every time you give someone the answer, whether it's your teenager or your young adult, you rob them of the chance to build the muscle themselves. They don't grow this muscle. What happens is they keep coming back to you over and over again because you have become the well of information, the well of knowledge, the well of wisdom. Why this is different? Why coaching is totally different? Well, what you've already tried, books, conferences, webinars, and maybe another degree. You've poured more information into a leader, maybe someone comes to mind tonight, who already had plenty of information. Mentoring, which usually becomes you telling them what you would do in that particular situation. The person still leaves with your answer, not their own. And lastly, it made you a bigger well. But notice the shift on the right-hand side, the partner shift. It changes who does the work in the conversation. Have you ever come out of a meeting and you've met with someone and you're just pouring into them and giving them instruction and letting them know how to do it? And by the end of the meeting, you need to go grab a Cuban coffee or something to revive yourself because you're exhausted. It's a lot of work. Coaching shifts the work. The person that you're coaching is actually the one who is doing the work. They are guiding the progress. You are guiding the process. Notice the second one. They do the thinking and you guide it. Number three, a team that can decide without you in the room. Number four, the person leaves with owning the decision, not you being the one to own the decision. And lastly, it teaches you to stop being the well. It teaches you to be yourself, but be the guide, much like Obi-Wan Kenobi was the guide for Luke Skywalker. And one of the things you'll notice is oftentimes the way that we have led in the past, or at least up to now, is not a way that we could say it really multiplies leaders because we become the well. But the pivot, the partner shift, is what helps us to become a multiplier. So, first, what we have to do is drop the answer reflex. What do I mean by that? Well, the moment someone brings you a problem, your body wants to jump to the fix. And that's just the reality. We want to jump in and give them a solution right away. That's not what we're talking about here. That urge isn't leadership, it's a habit. It's simply a habit or the old way of leading. The first skill is to simply notice this urge in us and not obey it. Pause. It's like when someone brings to the office a box of Cuban pastries. And I'm in Miami, and that's very common when someone, they haven't seen you in a while, they want to bring you something to show their appreciation. So they'll bring a few Cuban pastries. And the urge is obviously to open the box and start eating ASAP. You've got to resist that urge because those are high calorie treats. But as you lead other people, don't be so fast, so quick to answer every problem, resolve every tension, answer every question. Let them do the work. Guide them in the process. So sit with it 5 seconds and don't jump to conclusions. As long as you're talking as a leader, people are not thinking, they're just listening for your response. Ask the question that opens the door. And maybe you're doing some of this already to a certain extent. Once you're not rushing to solve the issue, you ask instead of tell. Not a leading question that hides your answer inside it. A real open question that hands a problem back to them. So here's an example. What have you already considered? That's a great question. What would it look like if this were working? Let me add a different question. What would it look like if this were not working? So here's some things that you can do in your leadership, and we're going to go through an activity in a little while to just help you frame questions in a way that empowers people to think for themselves and to do more. So the question is really the tool that changes you from being the well to being the one who serves as a guide to help them find the answer. Then hand them the pen. That's the next shift. This is where most leaders flinch, and here's why. After they talk it through, you resist the urge to grab a pen, as I often do, and correct what they've planned to do and give them your plan. That's a hard resistance. So they give you a plan. Here's what I'm going to do. And you can probably think of 3 or 4 other things that you would add, but you resist the urge to add to their plan. You let them leave with their decision, even if the process takes a little bit longer. Their next step, you just hang in there and walk with them. So let's say 80% of what they're going to do is satisfactory. Well, 80% is going to be satisfactory if they own it and they do it and they take the initiative. What happens all the time, we want them to do it exactly how we would do it, and that's not leadership. If they can do it 80% as good as we can, let them run with them, let them progress. Notice what it says here below. Their 80% will outperform your 100% because they will actually run with it and they will actually get it done. Let me introduce you to Luke Lyons, the light bulb moment for a global COO. In our first conversation, Luke said, everything was limited by my own personal limitations and my time. He was talking about his operations. If I could not make a meeting, the whole thing was off. Imagine that. The entire meeting was canceled because Luke was not present. And here's his conclusion: that is not scalable. I agree. That is certainly not scalable. What changed in Luke's life? He said he watched one of his own people talk their way into a conclusion completely on their own. Here are Luke's words: I had never experienced anything like it. It was always people coming with problems, expecting me to come up with a solution. This, talking about the coach training, the coaching skills that he learned, this was different. And he realized coaching will impact your leadership, it will impact your parenting, it will impact your ministry. He's a leader of a global ministry. Let's look at number two: engaged listening. Let's talk about what that means. A good listener hears you, but notice the second part. An engaged listener moves you. There's a big difference between hearing and moving. It says most of you have been told your whole life that you're a good listener, and you probably are by the normal definition. A good listener hears the words and waits politely for their turn. An engaged listener is doing something completely different. They're listening, here it is, for what's underneath, the words that are underneath. They're not listening to respond. There's a big difference there. They're listening to understand what's really going on so that they can ask the one question, that helps the other person see it too. So there's a big shift in this type of listening. And maybe you're doing some of this to a certain extent. You're not listening to respond, you're listening to understand. Good listening makes people feel heard. Engaged listening actually moves them. That's the shift. We want to move people. Why this is different from the listening you already do? Well, it says while they talk, your brain is already building your reply. Coaching helps you to change that. Half listening to them, half rehearsing yourself. I've been there before. I'm sure you have as well. You nod, you say, well, that makes sense. You wait until they finish. Polite, and they can still feel the difference. Lastly, pleasant conversations where nothing changes afterwards. We've all been in those conversations. They're long, some of them are shorter, but nothing really changes. But then you pivot and you learn a new approach. Coaching. You listen to probe. You keep your own answer offline. You hold, you resist. You hunt for the real issue, hiding the stated issue. The person feels understood at a level they rarely experience. Your question holds up a mirror they didn't have. They start to see their own situation clearly. So now your one-on-one meetings are changing and the person feels seen and they feel heard. Listen to probe, as we've said before, not to respond. That's the principle. This is the discipline of keeping your own answer offline, to the side, while the other person talks. And I know this is a big temptation to talk, but we learn the skill of putting it to the side for as long as it takes. Instead of building your reply, you're asking yourself one question the whole time. What is the real thing here? What's the real deal? In other words, what is this person not saying, but they're already starting to communicate? You'll be shocked, and I've been shocked, how often the first problem that someone brings to us isn't the real one. It's not. It's the surface one. What does coaching do? It helps you to go below what they're actually saying to what they really mean and intend to say. But you have to remain quiet long enough to hear what's really behind the problem. Then we have ask the clarifying question. Once you sense the real issue, you don't announce it. You ask about it. You probe. You dig deeper. A clarifying question doesn't add more information. It sharpens their focus. When you say you're overwhelmed, what's the one piece that feels heaviest? You ask that question, you pause, you don't ask another question, you simply pause and wait. Let them sit with the question. Let them think. In coaching, we call this giving them the space, creating space, holding the space, if you will. That's what people need. They need a space where they can process good questions that will help them clarify the path forward. It says here below, it takes a foggy problem and it gives it edges. And suddenly they can see what they're dealing with. Put them in the driver's seat. That's what coaching is about. You and I, we manage the process, but the person that you're coaching manages the progress. After the real issue is clear, what do? We resist the urge to take the wheel. We keep them in charge of the solution. It's not our responsibility. We're transferring responsibility to the person that we're coaching. You ask what they want to do about it, not what you would do. It's others focused. It's the client who's going to make the decision and own it for themselves. So every question you ask should give them a little more of the steering as you walk them along. Let me repeat that. Every question you ask should give them a little more of the steering. That's what coaching does. And by the end of the call, by the end of the session, they realize they're the ones in the driver's seat. They're the ones with the plan. They're the ones who are going to execute the plan. I want you to meet Tony Merritt, a man who thought he already excelled at leading people. And he is very good at leading people, but he got much better. Tony said, I was told most of my life that I was a good listener. Then I took this program and I realized I was not as good a listener as I thought. What shifted, Tony said, was an understanding what I'm actually listening for. Am I listening to respond and give an answer, or am I listening to probe and help clarify through questioning? That was very insightful. I didn't even know, Tony said, that was an area of need until I started the program. Tony is an associate pastor. He's also a seminary professor. But one of the things that he realized was people need more empowerment, not more information. And Tony has multiple degrees, but he realized that was not the answer. So let's look at the third one, coaching presence. And we'll walk through this rather quickly. Lead with confidence without needing the answer. This is a challenge for many leaders. How can I lead confidently without having that pressure of, I need to know everything. I need to have all the answers. It says, this answers a question that you didn't say out loud earlier. How do I step into a bigger role and lead with confidence when part of me still feels like what? I'm not ready. Have you ever felt not ready for a role? I know I have. And that's just a leadership reality. We're never going to feel fully ready 100%. But the reality is we don't have to feel that we need to have so much knowledge to be ready. We can learn a skill to help us to get ready. Coaching presence is that unique ability to be fully present. And I highlighted that on purpose. Fully present with the person in front of you without needing to have the answer, without needing to prove anything, without the noise in your own head running the show. What does this mean? Well, you may not be a doctor like Dr. Paula in education, but you can coach someone who's a doctor of education. You may not have a Master of Divinity degree, but you can coach someone who has one. You may not be an engineer, but you can coach someone who's an engineer, even if you know absolutely nothing about that particular industry. Because the question is not so much about what do I know or what do I lack, but can I be fully present with the person in front of me? That's what coaching really is all about. When you stop needing to have the answer, the pressure that made you feel unready, it just suddenly disappears. You're no longer carrying the impossible job of knowing everything. You no longer have to. Why this is different from how you've built confidence maybe in the past. One more training course, I feel more confident. LinkedIn badge, one more belt, I feel more confident. One more framework memorized, I feel more confident. Once I know enough, the imposter voice will finally go quiet. It doesn't. You keep adding to your resume while waiting to feel ready. The feeling never quite arrives. There's always one more thing you don't know. Notice the difference. Here's coaching presence. It removes the requirement and the pressure. I wanted to include that to know everything in the first place. You can relax. You can be yourself. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't walk in as the smartest one in the room. Suddenly, the weight lifts. You become far more useful than the leader loaded with answers because you're actually engaged and present. And that's the key difference. You're engaged with the person in front of you. You are present. They have your undivided attention. You haven't felt ready often because you've been preparing for the wrong job in the wrong way. Or let me say that a different way. You haven't felt ready because you've been preparing for the wrong job. Your job is not to be the expert of all things, it's to be the leader who listens and is fully present. Set down the mental clutter. Before a conversation that matters, you take 10 seconds. This is a simple exercise, and you consciously put down everything you're carrying. Now, this is not anything weird or mystical, it's actually really practical. So, you stop thinking about the last meeting you had. You put away your to do list. You put your cell phone on do not disturb or sleep. You try not to have that urge and you put it aside to impress with your information, with your vast repository of knowledge. And then you arrive. You arrive fully present with the person. You put your phone on silent. You are ready to coach. You are ready to serve. It sounds small, and I realize it may sound even elementary, but these are small things that you can do to help you in the presence of someone else when you're really trying to help them and empower them. And what happens, especially in today's culture, people want to feel seen and they want to feel heard and understood. Trust the process over the panic. And we're going to go over an activity shortly, but trust the process over the panic. What do we mean? When you're present and when you're not the one with the answer, there will be a moment of silence where the old panic wants to rush in and fill the space because you get uncomfortable with the silence. Here's my encouragement to you: don't do it. Don't fill it. Don't fill the space. Notice what it says here below. The silence is where the other person does their best thinking. Now, I'm from Miami, and in Miami, we talk 1,000 miles an hour. We talk quickly, and there's often a lack of silence in the conversations. And some of that is cultural and some of that is intentional. But what we find here and in other parts of the nation and world, when we give people space to think, a lot of new things emerge: new ideas, new options, new opportunities, new insights. Here it says a good question plus a little silence will get you somewhere better than your rushed answer ever could. And I've seen that many times. Lead from a willing heart, not a full resume. This is the mindset underneath the whole thing. You don't step into this because you have every credential in the world. You step in because you're willing to walk with the person. That's a different level of leadership empowerment. A willing heart plus real presence. This really removes the pressure every single time, and it's so much better than the resume. So, a willing heart is what you already have. That's why you're on this call tonight. That's why you're maybe watching this replay, because it's something that is very, very powerful. So, let me give you an example. At 59, Laz coached a global construction executive in her final evaluation. Laz retired from the United States Post Office. Her and her husband both worked at the post office. They are both retired, living in Miami, and they are loving life. But Laz was intimidated. She was intimidated because when she arrived at the program, I mean, everyone in this particular cohort that she attended had impressive professional certifications and degrees. And she actually said this. She said, I feel so stupid, Marcel. I'm not going to do this. All these people around me are so smart. She didn't have the same level of education that they did, but something changed. I encouraged her, even though she wanted to quit on more than one occasion, and she told me, I just want to quit. I said, Laz, hang in there. Do the work and trust the process. She didn't need to be an expert in construction or operations. She needed to be present. She needed to ask good questions and draw them out of this regional executive. And here's the good news. At the end, the regional manager, after being coached by Laz, he walked away surprised and genuinely helped. And no one was more shocked than Laz. But I love this story because it just proves the point. It's not about being the industry expert. It's about being fully present and helping the person. You just need a commitment to grow in a new leadership skill. We've talked about the three shifts and the one method, that's coaching. The partner shift, engaged listening, and coaching presence. That's the difference to take you from the leader that you are today to the leader that you want to be tomorrow. And it's a shift that we can all make. What happens when one of these pieces is missing in our leadership? When the partner shift, but no engaged listening. What happens is we have shallow conversations. We're not really paying attention. We're not really probing. Second, we have engaged listening, but no presence. Well, what happens is we begin solving problems. We begin giving the answer. Number three, we have presence, no partner shift. We go back to being the well. We go back to telling them what they should do, what we would do. That's not what coaching is. That's not what empowering leaders is all about. You stop being the leader people report to. You become the leader people are hoping will lead them. That's the shift because you're the one who makes everyone around you clear in their decision making, in their leadership capacity, more capable, and also more confident. People are coming to you not because you're telling them what to do, but because you're helping them discover what they need to do with your guidance. So here's the question. Are you the kind of leader who is willing to do what it takes to get this right, to be the leader who is empowering other leaders? So let's do an activity. And I want to share this with you. You can take out a piece of paper or you can do this on your notes if you like. And I'm just going to ask you to pick one of these areas. There are 9 areas here. What's your goal by the end of the year? I'm going to ask you to pick an area. And this is something that you can do right now. I encourage you to do that. But then also, I'd like you to take this simple exercise and practice this with someone either tonight or tomorrow morning or in the afternoon, because this is a basic framework of coaching. It's almost like when you learn how to ride a bike. I'm not sure if you use training wheels, but I had to because my balance was not very good. And my dad gave me a set of training wheels, and I learned how to ride the bike with training wheels at the start. So this is like learning to coach with training wheels. So what's your goal by the end of the year in one of these areas? If you want to drop it in the chat, that's fine. And if you want to just write it down on a sheet of paper, just pick a goal in one of these areas. So there's the question. What goal do you need to reach by the end of the year? Now that you've written that goal, just keep it very specific and short. Here's the next question. What's important to you about this goal? As you think about this goal, reaching this goal by the end of the year, what's important to you about this goal? And then the question that follows in that same category is, what feelings does this evoke? As you think about this question, as you think about why it's important to you, then ask yourself the question, what feelings does this evoke as I think about this goal, reaching this goal by the end of the year? And then we move on to the third one. What keeps getting in the way of reaching your goal? And I realize I'm going through this rather quickly, but honestly, you can take 30 minutes and go through these questions. There are about five, and then some of them have sub questions, as you can see. But you can take about 30 minutes and talk with someone and really dig deeper into this area of their lives. The second part of question three is, what else is making this a problem for you now? As you think about what keeps getting in the way of reaching your goal, it might be another person, it might be your job, it might be the economy, it might be time, it might be an elderly parent that you have to care for, it might be your children and in the phase of life that they're in. But then, what else is making this a problem for you? Think about that and challenge yourself to think about that answer. And then we move on to number four. What has this cost you already? As you think about this, what has this cost you? Either spiritually, financially, physically, relationally, in some other area. What has this cost you already? And then one of my favorite questions to ask, what else has it cost you? You've identified one area that there's a real cost, it's a measurable cost, but then you realize there's another area. What else has it cost you? Go ahead and make a note. And then lastly, what steps will move you forward to reach your goal? Think about this in a very basic sense. What is the first thing that you should do in light of all of this to help you move closer to reaching your goal? Don't overcomplicate it. Don't make it this one long run-on sentence, but what step could you take to reach your goal? It might be to register for this certification you need in your job in order to get a promotion. It might be something totally different. It might be to pick up the phone and call someone. That's a first step. That's a good step. And then the question is, okay, what else? Step number two. What's another step that you should take to reach this goal, to move you forward? And then what's a third step that you should take? I realize there might be 4, 5, 6, or even 7 steps, but if you think in terms of 3, what are the 3 most important steps that you could take to reach your goal? If there's a fourth, go ahead and add a fourth. That's perfectly fine. But what I want you to consider are concrete examples, action steps that you can take right away. And then one of the most important questions, when will you start? When will you begin? Put a date on there. When will you start? When will you take that first action step? Don't say one day or after summer is over, or just put a date on there. I will take this step on Sunday, August, just put it on there. Put on the date. And then when will you finish? You have a start date, you have a completion date. I enjoy telling people, put a soft deadline and then put a hard deadline. So a soft deadline might be by December 1st, depending on when you're watching this. And then the hard deadline may be by December 20th, before the holidays kick in. This is a basic example of a coaching framework that you can use in your own life and serving other people as well. Take a screenshot of this if you like, but I encourage you to do this for yourself and practice this activity with someone else, an employee, a friend, a colleague, someone that can really benefit from this activity. And then here's the coaching question to follow. What did you learn about yourself? what exactly did you get out of this? And what did you learn about yourself? This is a good activity, but it's just as important to reflect. What did you learn about yourself? What else did you learn? One of my favorite questions. Take a minute, write it down. As you think about your goal, as you think about what it's costing you not to reach the goal, as you think about what's getting in the way, what did you learn about yourself? And then write down what else did you learn about yourself? This is part of coaching. It's a reflective activity. It's something that you do to learn about yourself and to learn about others as well. At this point, we've talked about the three shifts. And at this point, I want to pivot and come to this conclusion. Now that you've understood a little bit more about coaching and just a very basic idea of what coaching can do, some of the shifts in your leadership from where you are as a leader today to where you want to be, and some of the things that you can start doing to get you there, I believe you have two paths from here. It says here below, you know the three shifts. Now, what will you do with them? On your own is the first one, or with a coach. I believe there are two paths forward. The first one is on your own. What do we mean? You take tonight's notes and you try to build these three shifts in your life on your own. You read more books and you hope the skill forms from the theory and the practices that you read. Then you guess whether you're actually doing it right because you don't have a certified ICF mentor coach watching you and giving you feedback. You practice alone. You wait until the next role exposes the gaps in your leadership, and then you scramble or you try to do something last minute. You search 100% online, but you are responsible for staying with it. You watch more YouTube videos. That's what we mean about doing it on your own. Or you can choose path number two with an ICF mentor coach. That's me. A structured, what I offer is a structured and flexible ICF accredited pathway. It builds all three of these that we've learned tonight in order. You practice on real coaching sessions, not just concepts. Number three, you get a qualified mentor coach evaluating your sessions and telling you what you need to fix, what you need to correct in a constructive way. You get a peer group of leaders that are learning it alongside you, so you're not doing this alone. You walk in competent, confident, and ready for your next role, having eliminated the gaps. And then last but not least, you have a program that's 100% online, no long flights, no expensive hotels, no time away from your family. That's the difference between path one, figuring it out on your own, and path number two, knowing that you will be able to finish. So let me introduce to you briefly the Certified Coach Accelerator. The Certified Coach Accelerator is the program that I'm presenting to you this evening. It's a mentored ICF accredited pathway to becoming an ICF certified professional coach in just 5 months. You can get certified in 5 months and on the road to ICF accreditation. It's built for who? It's built for experienced leaders ready for what's next, all without travel, hotels, or leaving their families behind. That's my favorite part, without leaving your family behind. Let me give you the big picture. I'm not going to go into all the details tonight, but let me give you the big picture of path number two. What does it include? It includes live ICF certified mentor coaching on Zoom. As I said before, there's no travel required. Number two, on-demand ICF core competency training. You work this training on your own, at your own pace, at your own time, at your own convenience. And then you participate in ICF accredited coach training curriculum. As I said before, the entire curriculum has been accredited by ICF, International Coaching Federation. So you have that global industry standard backing all of the learning and all of the training that we're doing. That's what path number two includes. And let me share with you just a couple of what I believe are huge benefits. I'm not going to read all of the testimonials below, but let me give you some core benefits. Here's the first one: increase. What does it do? What does the program help you do as a leader? It helps you increase your leadership clarity, your leadership confidence, and your leadership competence. I know I mixed that up, so let me repeat it. You increase your leadership clarity, competence, and confidence. The three C's. The Certified Coach Accelerator Path. I've broken it down into 5 different phases just to keep it simple. Here's the first phase: ICF Coach Skills Training on Zoom. What do we do? Well, in this part of the program, we learn the skills live on Zoom or on demand. Phase number two, we have on-demand training modules. Here's where you, at your pace, as I said before, you learn about coaching theory, ethics, history, values, all these things related to coaching, but you do that on your own, and it's very, very flexible. Next, in phase three, we have what's called Observe Coaching Labs and Peer Coaching. Here's where I begin to observe your coaching skills and your coaching competency. Much like you would in a class where you're learning how to present things better, a presentation skills class, it's very, very similar. It's an experiential learning experience. You get real coaching reps. And then we have phase four, mentor coaching and executive intensive. The mentor coaching is where I begin to hold you to a higher standard of coaching. I give you specific action-oriented improvement plans to get better in your coaching skills. We do this together. I give you verbal feedback. At times I'll give you written feedback as well, so you know exactly what to do and what to practice. And then afterwards, we participate in an intensive. That is an executive coaching intensive. I also have life coaching intensives and marriage coaching intensives available on demand and live. And then last but not least, we have the final performance evaluation. That's where you go and you coach somebody else who is not in the cohort or part of the training program, and you record an audio version of you coaching someone else. You have to get their permission, and then you simply give me the audio version and I assess your audio coaching session. That's it. It's very, very simple. You become, at that point, once you finish, you become an Imagine certified professional coach, and we give you that coach training certification certificate. And then it says this is aligned with ICF's pathway to ACC credentialing, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So after a few months, you don't just have a professional coaching certification, you become a different kind of leader. You become the leader who grows and empowers other leaders. You stop carrying every problem out of the room on your back. Boy, does that get heavy. You start walking into the next room already prepared and ready to go. So this is something that I believe can really help us in our leadership development. If you want to take a few minutes and type this into the chat, I'll be able to take a look at it, or just write this down. But they're very simple questions. Can you see how coaching changes the way you lead? How it can change the way that you lead? Number two, where did your previous leadership approach hit a wall? What did you find that was not working? And then number three, how will coaching benefit you and or your team? If you can see a way that coaching can benefit you or benefit the people you serve, then I think the next chapter for you is to get certified as a coach. Who this is not for. And this is important because I want to be very clear on who this program is not for. It is not for someone looking for a quick certificate to print out and hang on their wall or attach to their resume. That's not it at all. It's for people that are willing to work hard. Number two, it's not someone not willing to make this a priority for the length of the cohort. As I said, this cohort is not a forever cohort, but you have to do the work and you have to make a commitment of time, energy, and resources. Number three, the leader who wants to keep leading exactly as they always have. If you're not open to a new approach to leadership, it's not for you. If you're not willing to be vulnerable and just putting yourself out there to coach and sharpen your skills, it's not for you. Lastly, someone not ready to invest in getting this done right. I know there are really cheap programs out there that you can purchase, but this is not that type of program. This is something that will build real coaching skills. I always talk about the 3 C's of transformation. In order for you to realize change in your life, in order for you to really transform, I believe you need 3 things: a commitment, a coach, and a course of action. A commitment to continuous learning, practice, change, and growth with the goal of empowering others to thrive. After commitment, you need a coach, an experienced partner to evoke new awareness, expand more possibilities, and challenge you to take measurable action steps. That's me, your guide. And number 3, a course of action, a proven success path to lead you from where you are today in your leadership to where you want to be in the future. A commitment, a coach, and a course of action. Eliminate your leadership gaps. That's the challenge. Remove your leadership ceiling. And as we already introduced you to Laz and Luke, they loved the program. They both had challenges in the beginning. They overcame the challenges and they got it done because the program is flexible, as I said before. That's what happens in the coach training program. There are 2 things I want to give you for being on this call live tonight. Here's the first one. It's worth $500. It's called a Coach Eligibility Review and Leadership Growth Plan. What does that mean? I personally map out where you are right now and the fastest path to coach certification, tailored to your situation, whether or not we work together. This is something that I do just to say thank you for being a part of this. And I'll get into the details in just a moment. Then the second bonus, worth $1,000, is a 30 to 45-minute coaching session, a professional one-on-one coaching session with me. I give you the floor. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about for 30 to 45 minutes, and you experience what coaching is. What is ICF coaching? And I really believe if you can experience coaching, it'll help change your mind about a leadership skill that you can embrace for yourself. So 2 things, bonus number 1 and bonus number 2. After 24 hours from the time that you're watching this now here live, the second bonus, the 30-minute professional coaching session, goes away. Here's the next benefit. You can actually lead at the level you were always called to. That's really important. Some of us feel like there's more that I could do, there's more that I'm capable of, but I'm not sure how to get there. Coaching helps you to get there. I've seen it time and time again. My challenge to you, my personal challenge to you, is take the next step. The ICF certification and credentialing process. We talked about 5 phases of the program. Let me walk you through 5 steps in this certification and credentialing process. And I just want to be clear. I know this can be confusing. It has been confusing for a lot of people. And my goal here tonight with you is to clarify what this actually looks like. You are here. Step number 1, the Coach Accelerator Workshop. It's a good place to be. You've taken the first step. How do you get to step number 2? Step number 2 is you text the word clarify. It could be uppercase or lowercase or a combination. It doesn't matter. You text clarify to 786-855-4951. When you do that, that's going to lead you to a book a call screen. You're going to select a day and time that's convenient for you and I to get on a call. And then you're going to complete a very simple form to help me get to know you a little bit more and some of the goals that you're trying to reach in your leadership. It won't take you more than 5 to 10 minutes at the most to complete the form, but it is extremely helpful for our call. That's really, really important. What do? We get on a call. We go over, as I said before, your leadership goals. We map out a plan to get there. And then we talk about the program, the different options in the program, what that looks like for you, and if it's a good fit or not. If it's a good fit, great. We're excited to have you. If it's not a good fit for you right now in your life, that's fine too. You walk away with a plan and you walk away encouraged, knowing that you can continue growing as a leader. Step three, if you decide to move forward in the coach certification program, you enroll in the ICF accredited coach training program and you begin the process. And then when you finish, you become an Imagine certified professional coach. And we give you a certificate with the ICF logo on there. That is step number three. And then step number four, ICF coaching practice hours. Some people stop at step number three. They finish their coach training and they're perfectly fine with step number three. Others are going to move on and have moved on to step number four. You do 100 bartered or paid coaching hours, coaching other people. You keep a record of that. Once you complete that, then you are ready to take the ICF ACC credentialing exam. And then once you pass that exam, you not only become an Imagine certified professional coach, you get the certificate, but you also become an ICF credentialed coach. That's really important. So I hope this is clear for you. I hope this gives you a clear understanding of what the process looks like. And yes, I walk you through the entire process, Look at what it says here below. Don't step into your next leadership role using yesterday's management or leadership playbook. Equip yourself with the coaching capabilities top executives rely on. That's really important. Then here's the third benefit for you to consider. Empower more leaders, change more lives. What happens when you become a certified coach? You learn how to empower more leaders and change more lives. In other words, you learn how to have a bigger impact, a sustainable impact in the lives of the people you serve. The next cohort begins Tuesday, September 1st at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We go for at least 3 hours. It's a cohort of your peers. And as I said before, the only thing you need to do to get started is text the word clarify to 786-855-4951. Here's how to start. It's another repetition of what I just said. Text clarify. And when you text clarify to 786-855-4951, you'll get that screen where you can select your day and time, and then you fill out the form. It's a quick form. You submit that, and then we get on a call. We get on a very exciting call. I'll text you back within 24 hours of this. If not, I'll drop it in the chat for you to have at the end of tonight's session. Who is this for? Who is this program for? As we wrap things up today, who is this really for? It's for experienced leaders who are serious about getting ready for what's next and who are ready to invest in doing it right to lead at a higher level. Second, the availability this month. In the coaching program, I can have over 20 people at one point, but then we break up into mentor coaching groups. In those mentor coaching groups, I'm limited by the ICF to 10 people. Once we reach 10 people, I have to close the group, because if not, then I'm out of compliance with the ICF and I'm simply not going to do that. And I tell you that because I want you to be involved in this journey. If you feel that this is a right fit for you, what's your next step? Go ahead and text Clarify to 786-855 4951. That's your next step. If you are ready to book your call, I'll be happy to work with you. And before your gaps get exposed, get ready for the role that's coming. That's my encouragement to you. Before your gaps get exposed, get ready for the role that's coming. Your certification starts here. Path number one, you do it yourself. You read more books, listen to more podcasts, watch more YouTube videos, etc. It doesn't work. It really doesn't work. Why? Because you don't have ICF mentor coaching. You have no proven results that way. Path number two, you book your coach eligibility call and you map out a custom plan to get you from where you are to where you want to be in your leadership. All you have to do is text Clarify 786-855 4951. Here's my challenge. Choose your path. That's my challenge to you. Choose your path. This is a no pressure call. It's a no high pressure call. To be very, very specific, this is a journey in your leadership development. Before we talk, as I said before, you complete the coach eligibility form. You select the day and time. On the call, I ask you about your situation, what your interests are, your leadership goals, your context. We talk about what you've tried before, why didn't it work, the challenges that you're having, and then we talk about what's next. What's next for you? What do you really want to do in your leadership? And then number three, we either both agree that our program is a good fit for you, or we walk away friends and it may not be the right time or it may not be the fit for you. That's perfectly fine. But at the end of the day, you walk away encouraged because you have a plan and you have more clarity on where you want to be as a leader. It's not a pitch, it's a roadmap, a clear roadmap to help you move forward in your leadership journey. Before your gaps get exposed, before any gaps get exposed, get ready for the role that's coming. Your certification starts here. I believe you should choose at the very least path two. Book your call, get greater clarity, and let's move forward in your leadership development. To book your call, that's what you would text the number here on the screen. You would text Clarify to 786-855 4951. That's my encouragement to you. Whatever we can do to serve you, we would love to serve you. I would love to serve you. Once again, before we sign off and take some questions, text Clarify to 786-855 4951. Book your call, fill out the form. Let's get together and talk to see if this is a good fit, the right fit for your leadership development to help you to get ready for that next role.